everyone, welcome back to Play Casket Talk. Man, words are hard. With a new episode of Casket Talk. What? Yeah, get excited, I guess.
Episode 57, Vanilla Flavored Genres.
We're just hopping right into it. So, vanilla flavored genres. Basically, we're going to talk about just what changed in our genre tastes. Basically, what we used to like growing up. Has things changed? Is there reasons for it? And like, is there something like fundamentally flawed in the one things that you used to like? Right? Everyone agree here? Mm-hmm. Yes, I guess. I hope. So, yeah, just a taste shift in gaming. Did you ever experience like a really massive shift in in your taste in games?
Oh yeah. Like,
what was your first? What was like your favorite genres like when you were a child?
Oh, okay.
Like alive.
Turn-based RPGs. It was one thing that I played a lot of. Like I couldn't get enough of them. And like I would get one and I would just play the shit out of it. And then, let's see, like Golden Sun, Final Fantasy, Disgaea. But I kind of fell out of love with them. I still play the shit out of Disgaea, but I don't play it as much as like I used to, I guess. Right. Because I would just run through them and then get ready for the next one. But now it's just like, I'll do it for like 20 minutes and I'm like, I don't touch it for like another couple months.
Right on. I'm kind of in the same boat.
Mm-hmm.
Not for the same reasons, but I'm kind of in the same boat. Is RPGs, especially turn-based RPGs. I think one of the reasons was, and I don't want to make it sound sad, but it was gonna sound sad when I say it, but it was like playing and making cool friends. Like when you think about it, like when you're playing the main character, you're you know, the main character, but really you're Cloud or whatever other angsty teen they're gonna make. And you know, you have to go out on this adventure like, man, this really sucks. And then people are like, yo, I got your back. We're going to join forces. And like, yeah. And you have a new party member. And it goes on and on and on. And it goes with like just about every RPG. It was always like that. So you just built these characters. And like what I've noticed looking back, there's a reason why a lot of people's favorite characters, just in general, like their de facto most favorite character, is predominantly an RPG character. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things is looking back at it is that like RPG characters don't have to hide their growth. You know, like they could do some of the coolest, fanciest crap and still only do 15 damage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it just looked really cool, you know, and it wasn't really powerful, but it was really cool. And I think a lot of people like connected with that growing up. And I just liked having like collecting the friends, unlocking the characters, basically. Like it was like I got a sea of characters I could choose. This is awesome. And looking back at it, it would make sense why gacha games are so pervasive.
Yeah.
Because it's basically that turned up to like fucking 90.
Except it never ends.
Because it never ends, money. And you're always recruiting new characters, and those characters are even cooler, and you're like, oh my god, yeah! And you're just like getting all these characters. There's like, I'm a guy that plays a banjo that launches off fireworks, and those fireworks turn into bees, and then it does 2 damage. You know, like shit like that. It's not just... And meanwhile, you just run over, and like one of your other characters just auto punches, and like fucking just nukes him to the ground. So, yeah, it's just that is probably something what I used to really like as a kid.
Oh, okay.
And I think my second favorite, like something that was always like a weird ideas. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like when I was a kid, I liked stuff that was really bonkers. Mm-hmm. Like stuff that like other people looked at and went, what the hell is that? Good example is Cubivore for the GameCube. Yeah. Right? And I don't know what I was thinking back then. When I was a child, I don't remember why I was thinking that way, but looking back, I was like, I liked those those weird games because they were like a very obviously new idea. You know, it was so new that nobody really understood what they're going to do with it, so they just made something abstract with it.
Yeah.
You know? So something like Cubivore, like cubes eating each other, like, oh yeah, that's cool. But it would only work in such a way that was very easy to develop for when they made them all cubicle characters instead of these monsters like Spore or something. Like
Yeah.
that was a little, like it was so complex with Spore. This is like a simplified version, but because their approach was so weird, you're like, people are like, what the hell is that? When I was a kid, I was like, whoa, hang on, what is that? That looks neat. And like, it doesn't happen very often now because now we have indie teams doing all sorts of interesting, weird, wacky things. And there's some people who have wacky concepts that still have a very grounded like presentation. But like, as you see it play out, you're like, oh, hold on a moment, that didn't move the way I expected it to. So it doesn't happen as often now because we have so many people doing so many new ideas now. So it's not like it doesn't stand out anymore.
Yeah.
So that's why. But what about you? Any other like secondary genres at all that you changed on, or is it kind of the same?
Like, well, I don't know. For me, like turn-based RPGs turn-based RPGs was just like very, very prevalent in my playstyle when I was a kid.
Everything.
Huh?
So it's just everything.
Yeah, like that's the only thing I could think of like that I have the biggest issue with. Mostly because I don't know. There's like a lot of things wrong with it. I guess I know people are gonna like, yeah, whatever. I'll take your damn tomatoes. But
Right.
but also it's like, you once you really see through it, you're just like, man, it's not that fun anymore. Like you see very big. It's like, okay, hey, go deliver this for me. Like you're doing fetch quests. But along the way, if you just deliver without having to combat, you're just fighting in between. Like you're just going from point A to point B, and there's combat to fill in between. So you're just like, okay, yeah.
And I feel a lot of that same pain. Literally, like one of the things I've noticed and what really changed for me was, like, I cannot stand a lot of the like weird RPG tropes. Like you are not involved in a lot of the characters' stuff. You're literally the boat that takes them there. That's it. Like you're not involved in the moment with the characters. You're just like if you were like if it was like an RPG like an MMO, your weird character creation will just pop up looking like a fucking rainbow in the background. But a lot of these RPGs, you didn't exist.
Yeah.
You didn't exist.
And if that's the case, like it goes back to like, well, why don't you just watch a show?
Yeah.
Because like unless you're really, really into the combat, then you're just there for the dialogue and like the exposition. But if you take out like if you don't care about the story, then like, well, you're just playing the game, and it feels like you're forced to listen to the story or you're forced to play the game.
There's no in between.
Yeah.
and I think that's where RPGs like really fall apart, because it like you are just the character. You're not the character. You're just the commander to the character, and everything else plays out.
Yeah.
Whereas when you play like Mario, you are Mario. You hit jump, you're jumping. You don't just you don't press A. Okay, Mario, now jump, and he runs. Hi-yo, and jumps. Like that's what. So you're not disengaged the moment stuff is starting to happen, and I think that's where like it irritated me. And same thing, the grind was too much. Like the late 2000s. The grind was horrendous.
Yeah.
Like, they were finding ways to pad out game time in the most lunacy ways. And a good example of that is a Kemco RPG I just recently played. Like, it's like the Kemco RPGs are very like light versions of RPGs nowadays, but they do have like they're very short, they're very cheap and stuff. So it as a game isn't a good example, but the things that they do obviously are like lighter versions of what has happened, right? And one of the games will have these like side quests, right? And you do this side quest, and one of them was literally you talk to this kid who lost his clone, and you go out You literally go across the town, which is literally not even like a minute long, right?
Yeah.
And you find the clone, which can only show up after you talk to the kid. But then you have to talk to the kid again because you have to get the information of what he looks like. Go over there, talk to him. In that entire time, there is at least 3-4 minutes of textual exposition dialogue. The less than a minute of gameplay in which I was in control of, I was rewarded with 5 minutes of story.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with the overarching story. Now, this might be a small thing, but this was a thing that people abused the living crap out of. Xenogears being huge on it. Like not only like text dialogue exposition, but cutscene after cutscene after cutscene after cutscene. Like it was
Xenosaga?
It was Xenosaga, yeah.
Xenosaga.
Yeah, not Xenogears. There's Xenosaga. I never played Xenogears, so I can't say anything about that. Xenosaga. But yes, that one. In fact, what happened and what changed the whole dynamic of my tastes in video games was I was playing Final Fantasy X shortly after you get Riku. Like, it was kind of in that area, right? So, a lot of that area of the levels was very rigid, follow this straight path, nothing else. You couldn't go off onto the grass.
Invisible barriers.
It was just a very rigid playing. At the same time, I was still playing, like I was at the halfway point for Wind Waker, and I could just go anywhere. Just go anywhere. Even to places I've already been to. Oh, I unlocked a new item. I could go to the other dungeon and unlock the other heart container that's missing. I could go anywhere. And yes, in retrospect, Wind Waker had a lot of emptiness to it. It was very barren in comparison to actual content you can chew on as far as stuff goes. But the dynamic between those two games, the stark contrast between those two games, follow this path, follow this sidewalk, you're not allowed to go anywhere, to, you see that mountain? You can go to it.
Yeah.
And like, it was such, I was like, oh, I can do these things. And like, literally, it was like that moment where I was like, I love adventure games. Like, not just Zelda games, like adventure games. Like, I started getting into a lot more. Like, the action RPGs were probably as close to RPG I would be going into. You know, like, that was right when I discovered Morrowind as well. So it was like, it was during that time, like, oh yeah, like this, yes, I could go anywhere. Yes. I mean, granted, you can get your shit kicked in if you go too far in Morrowind, but you can still go over there.
Yeah,
that's my point. You know,
for mine too was also what is it? When you get really bogged down, because I remember playing an RPG, like a turn-based RPG, just tons of dialogue. I got like 2 levels. Like I played for like, you know, maybe 1 or 2 hours. Tons of dialogue. I gained like 2 levels, and like I saved, and like, okay, well that was like a good amount of playing, I guess. Like I got a good enough of story, so I'm like, I play something else. Jumped on another game, 1 or 2 hours. I was already like almost halfway through the game, and I was like, okay, this is like, I can see why RPGs kind of aren't all that incredible, I guess. And you know, because it's just a wall of dialogue you gotta go through.
And yeah, and like that pad out time, you're like, oh yeah, this game trump outs what was like 500 hours of gameplay, and people are like, oh yeah, that, you know, it's a big game, when really like a lot of it, like when you start like filtering it all out, like, no, this game was actually just as short as Mario, if not shorter.
Yeah, I
just had to be told a whole story.
Yeah,
you know. And this isn't an episode of just let's bash the hell out of RPGs. Like, it's not that I hate RPGs now. Like, I just hate a lot of the tropes, right? And I do think a lot of the tropes don't hype me up anymore. Like, it just simply does not. Like, I do not buy into the fact that like my character's level 15 can blow up a planet and still only do 15 damage.
Yeah.
You know, like, think about it. Like, if we put it in a term of like if Dragon Ball Z had an RPG, right? Not Dragon Quest. I mean, like, literally Dragon Ball RPG, right? Imagine Goku doing his full strength attack to a random enemy you do, and he misses because his accuracy was a little down. But then Krillin comes up and kicks it in the nuts with an auto attack, and it crits him for like $700 damage and kills it.
Yeah.
You know, like that's literally how it feels when you're playing an RPG, like especially a turn-based one. But it's not without its merits. Like I play some RPGs still to this day because I do want to play with it for a story, but it's like I'll play it at night when I don't want to think too much about a lot of other mechanisms and stuff like that, like accuracy of your jumps or the twitch response of a fighting character move, or you know, all various different things, right? The strategy, where you know, keep everything accounted for. When it's like late at night, I'm like, I just want to like press A, you know, like, and there's space for it, but it just does not compare to like adventure games, or action adventure games where like where they're like RPGs and stuff like that. Like, oh yeah, that's awesome. Like being able to like run around and like get all your cool loot and stuff, and then like smack the hell out of people and such. Like,
it's more engaging.
Yeah, Kingdoms of Amalur. I'm really upset that game never really took off.
Yeah, it was basically Fable. It was a really good game.
Oh, dude, it was amazing. I even got it for the Switch again to like really play it. Dude, it even got new DLC.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of crazy to me, right?
Yeah.
But it's like that stuff, right? And dude, if yeah, I just like the whole, you see that thing, you can go there.
Yeah.
Like, and even then, like I still like the weird stuff. You know what I mean? Like when I was that hasn't really changed too much. It's just there's so much out there now that could be confusing and abstract that's really not as exciting and like stand out at shit anymore.
Oh, okay.
Like it's just like, oh, that is kind of cool, and then you carry on because you're gonna see some other weird shit here, like lower down in the feed, like, you know, like that's just exactly how it's gonna work. So, but you know, with that all said, what would make you go back to RPGs?
I would say less exposition, like because it also brings me back to like Half-Life and Left 4 Dead 2, because they could tell you what is going on as you play, rather than, you know, you get to point B and then, oh, thank you, hero, and then you just get a wall of text explaining like, yeah, what'll happen next, and you're like, okay,
you know what I think would actually work out for turn-based RPGs instead of an exposition or a sidebar, basically storytelling, like Left 4 Dead, more like hidden stuff. Like obviously key points, you want to still show off that moment your character realizes he done fucked up. You know what I mean? Like in an RPG, I understand that. So I'm not saying do away with all cutscenes, but make sure those cutscenes matter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you can make a lot of the exposition hidden in like items and text that you talk to. Like if you talk to everyone in an RPG, that's your fault.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, it also reminds me of like,
but like it's kind of like Dark Souls. Like hide it in stuff. Wait, hold on. So talking to people, you're rewarded with more of the context of what's happening.
Yeah.
That would be much more better instead of like talking to the innkeeper's dad, and he's like, yeah, sometimes I fart in the tub. Why did I even pick that? Why do I? And like he has to do that like slow 3-second animation to turn around to you before he tells you something completely innocuous.
Damn it, I didn't mean to talk to him. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you're like trying to skip through it and stuff, and you accidentally hit him again, so he turns back around for those 3 seconds to tell you that again.
Oh god. And then like, well, because I also noticed when like what is it? There was a cutscene where they were just walking to where they go through a tunnel, and they're just talking about the tunnel, and like, oh yeah, it's right this way. Like, okay, I just wasted like 5 minutes watching them walk through the tunnel. This has nothing to do with the story whatsoever.
Yeah, stuff like that. Like, get rid of that crap. Like, no. Like, if you want some more world building stuff, put that type of stuff in the context of actual characters you can talk to.
Well, I think
because at
also,
least that way it helps you build the world and the scope. And reward you for talking to people instead of like having these weird innocuous times where like, why?
I think they were just trying to show off like how pretty the graphics were too. So I'm like,
like how collectively you can have so many people and how much dialogue, and it's just so all of it's like meaningless words. Yeah, totally. the thing is, like, I'm kind of like you in that time aspect. If they want me to go back into RPGs, it'll probably be adventure RPGs. I'm not doing turn-based anymore, dude. Like, there's no way. Like, the only reasons why I'll play turn-based RPGs is to play, like, more nostalgia stuff and
Yeah.
too. But, like, a lot of times I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't even finish Earthlock. And it was an indie turn-based. I'm like, I can't keep doing this to myself.
Yeah, because I remember there was like a really cool one too, where it's kind of like, okay, like there's way too much combat, and I really wish that they didn't put so many enemies encounter, so I just turned it off. I think it was a Bravely Default. I know. Yeah, here comes the tomatoes. Right?
Oh, yeah.
But it was a lot more fun when, like, I dealt more damage. Like I basically messed with the scaling and damage and all that stuff like that. I'm just like, man, it's so much nicer when you don't have to like constantly like, hey, can you go get this for me? Oh wait, let me interrupt you for a quick battle. Okay, you're good. Okay, you can go on along your way. But wait, yeah.
I will play things on normal difficulty regardless of the situations like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like unique systems that like Bravely Default adds to RPG moments. Octopath Traveler I think is a lot better at it. With the spending stuff, basically the turns and such.
Mm-hmm.
But outside that, I think a lot of RPGs are pretty bare bones in that type of aspect, where it doesn't feel like you'd have too much control over the battle outside the character knowing certain spells.
Yeah.
You know,
The issue is that like I guess they kind of lost their way about like trying to, what is it? You're trying to tell a heavily narrative story, but it can't get a balance of like combat and story, because it's like either the story's really good and they just put in like a shit combat to be like, hey, it's a video game, or they load it with so much dialogue that you're like, okay, this is kind of boring. I really want to play. So they can't really quite get a good balance in between the two. But man, it would be nice to get a good turn-based RPG that I want to go back to, because I do miss it, but at the same time, just going through the dialogue is just a slog.
yeah. No, like it drags on so damn much sometimes. But if they make an action RPG, right, and I could just go anywhere, imagine like even the remake of Final Fantasy VII still restricts you a lot.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, no, you only have this much, but you can now punch buttons and actually do things, right? That's at least a step in the right direction for me to want something, but at the same time, Final Fantasy VII has a lot of other shit that's overrated anyway.
Yeah.
But if you can make me like adventure game, like let's say the original World of Warcraft storyline as an action RPG that you play as like an orc or a human, and you do like that continent's like story quests up to a certain point, you know, because obviously it's going to be huge anyway. You know, you're not going to be playing World of Warcraft's MMO land. The land's going to be a lot bigger, you know, and I would play the shit out of that, because you'd be like, you want to go to the Barrens? Go to the Barrens.
Yeah.
Oh shit. You know, that would probably tickle me a little too hard, you know what I mean? So yeah.
I know, it just turned out to be like hate RPGs.
That's just hate on RPGs, because both of our change, like, we changed so much from that. Like, it's funny how, like, and it proves my point that like almost everyone's favorite characters at the time was RPG characters, because everyone liked RPGs.
Yeah.
You know, they're like almost everyone. You know, my favorite character back then was Link, because I did like Link. I thought he was cool with the sword, but outside that, like, probably a bunch of RPG characters, probably like Pokemon and stuff, because and I'm not gonna lie about that, you know. In fact, that's why I like the 3D platformers, where you like the game feels more unified and stuff too, so you can travel everywhere. Like, you go into that next segment, like Banjo-Kazooie, like, oh yeah, you know that that guy way over there, you can get a Jiggy from that if you want to go all the way over there right now, but there's a ton more Jiggies over here. Like, no, I want to go over there.
Yeah.
You know, like, being able to do that, is awesome, you know. And I hate the fact that even RPGs to this day kind of struggle with that, you know. And it's funny that's what changes all of our opinions of like the tasting of our games, man.
Well, another one too is just like the amount of time you have to play now too, because they are like basically novels. And
and like so for us, like honestly, even when we get to play, like I said, I play about right before bedtime because maybe it's the time I don't have much time to kind of really focus on anything. Because there will be other games like, okay, I really need to kick this guy's ass in this. Like Astral Chain was one of the games I was trying to beat a boss. I had to take a break from it because I suck at it, but I still play a little bit before bed and go to RPGs. I've just been playing a lot of the Kemco ones just because I've heard a lot of like bad news about them. I'm visiting them, and it's really weird to see a lot of like the problems I've had with the games in such a lighter, digestible format of it. Like it's like, I don't know, it's like a pill of it. Like, hey, you know that awful thing? You can swallow it and that's it. I'm like, I guess. You know, it's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird, but yes. Anything else you would like to add to that? Make better RPGs.
Yeah, right. We're just hating on them, but
It's just the anti-RPG episode.
Well, I would like to go back to them, but I don't know. Need more time, I guess.
Well, that and like I don't know. They make so many of the characters like to a point where like, no, I'm so cool. You're supposed to like me. No.
You got to sell me on it. Yeah.
You got to actually sell me on the character. And like I like a character that has a little bit more flaw now, because I think when I was a kid, like I liked that angstiness because I was like, oh yeah, he's cool. He understands what I'm going through. I grew up. I'm like, that was literally the only characteristic trait you had. All of Final Fantasy VII is just characters with one-dimensional traits. All of them. I'm angsty because nobody really loved me. I'm angsty now that my girlfriend's dead. I'm angsty because the world's about to die. And my younger stuff was like, yeah, I feel you. Now I'm like, this dude needs a hobby. Like, go build some Gundams or something, dude. Like, seriously, like, shut up. So, but we're going to wrap it up right there. I would like to thank you all for listening into our Casket Talks.
Comment down below how drastic your guys' tastes have changed.
If you have opinions on, like, other tastes that you've had back then that you discover now, maybe you hated first-person shooters then, and you love RPGs now. Tell us how we're somehow wrong, and you're wrong for saying that. Like, so, you know, feel free to comment below and let us all know. And as always, if you like our content, feel free to like, subscribe, and share. And, of course, we will see you on the other side. Hey, everyone. This is Paraka.
And Ghost.
I would like to say thank you for listening to our podcast.
If you like our content, give us a thumbs up. Subscribe and share our video with your friends.
You can also follow and support us on other social media such as Minds and Rumble. Links in the description below.